Hello, hello, C# friends. My name is Matthew. I'm the C# artisan, and this is the 5th video in my series on nullable reference types. Now that last video was epic. I realized it ran to almost 20 minutes. So you'll be relieved that this one is going to be really short and sweet. We're going to talk about the magical Null Forgiving Operator. But before I dive into that, I did want to address a very important question that some of you have posted. It has to do with this shirt. Yes, it actually is a Fred Flintstone shirt. To explain how the Null Forgiving Operator works, I want to create a little test class just to demonstrate it. So we'll add a class, and I'm going to call it the Polygon Inator. So the Polygon Inator does some stuff with a polygon. So now let's give it first let's give it a private member variable. Private polygon. And now let's give it a constructor where we pass in an integer, and then we can initialize our polygon in the constructor, like that. Why don't we make the whole thing public? Okay, and now let's create a method called doStuff. And inside of doStuff, we'll say int x equals polygon.sides. And now you'll see how the polygon member here is underlined, and it says it may be null. And if we build this, we're getting CS8602 dereference of a possibly null reference. But here's the thing. We know that it won't be null. That is a fact because our constructor initializes it. So this is a situation where you, as a human being, as a programmer, can tell that a variable is just not going to be null. But the C# compiler's static flow analysis, for some reason, can't figure it out. So there are other scenarios where this happens, but basically it's just a reality. Sometimes you can verify it's safe, whereas the C# compiler can't. So what do? You don't want to just ignore the warning and live with it. We have to address it in some way. So the sort of naive way to do it would be like this. You can add this pragma to tell the compiler just to ignore that. And then, of course, for good hygiene, we'd want to re-enable it by restoring it. So now we're just saying on this line of code, don't worry about CS8602. And if we build that, our warning is suppressed. But boy, this is ugly. And you're just going to have these peppered all over your code potentially. So this is where the Null Forgiving Operator comes in. Instead of doing this, we put an exclamation point right there. So that little suffix on the variable polygon basically says, don't worry about it, C# static flow analysis compiler. This one, even though it looks like it might be null, I know that it never will be null. And that clears the warning. So now when we build it, it builds. So it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty nifty. It kind of gives the exclamation point another meaning other than the negation operator, but because it comes after the variable, maybe it's easy to spot what it does. Okay, so when people discuss this, some folks will say, you really shouldn't use that. You should look at your code and figure out what it is about your code that is tripping up the static analysis. My view is there are real world situations where this is just going to happen. So this is a nice little trick to have up your sleeve as long as you're not overusing it and putting it everywhere just so you can ignore all the warnings. So there you have it, the Null Forgiving Operator. Short and sweet. Hey there, C# friends. Are you enjoying these videos and finding them helpful? I hope so. And if you are, please go ahead and like the video on YouTube. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and feel free to leave a comment. I would love to hear from you.